straight out of the box, the Fujifilm x100v is already an amazing camera, but it also has a huge range of accessories that make it even better. Today, I want to talk through my 7 favourite accessories for the x100v. First up, we have the Tiffin Black Pro Mist, and this is the 1/8 strength. Now, I'm a very big fan of Pro Mist filters, but over the last couple of years, I've kind of realised that less is more a little bit with them. I started out with a Pro Mist 1, and then I went down to a Pro Mist 1/2, and then a 1/4, and now a 1/8. I feel like the stronger ones can look really cool, but the 1/8 is just a really great all-rounder. It never really looks like too much, and especially if you've got like a subject that's backlit, the 1/4 and above, it sometimes washes out the whole image, whereas with the 1/8, you don't really get that. One of the biggest selling points for me about the x100v was the fact that it looked and took photos a lot like a film camera, and I feel like the 1/8 Pro Mist kind of just adds to that film look. It softens it up a bit, makes it look a little less digital, and overall it just looks really beautiful. It's definitely worth mentioning that if you're going to put a filter on the x100v, you're going to need one of these filter adapter rings. I find it really weird that they don't tell you this when they sell you the camera, that you need one of these, because if you put a filter straight onto the camera and try and focus on something close, the actual mechanism that focuses inside the camera will hit the filter and it will come up with an error. This happened to me when I first got the camera. I didn't really know what I was doing wrong, and it was only after I researched it online that I realised I needed one of these. I bought this off Amazon for, I think it was about £7, so it's not really expensive, but definitely you need to get one. So next up, we have the Lightpix Labs Flash Q Q22, which is a flash that goes on top of the camera, but also you can press a button on the back and take the flash off the camera, and this little receiver here communicates with the flash, and basically you can just take a photo and the flash will flash wherever you position it. I've probably not described that very well, but you know what I'm saying. So this is really cool for a couple of reasons. You can put this behind like a model, or if you were shooting a band, you can put it behind the band. When you're taking photos, it just looks like a strobe light, which is great. It's pretty powerful. The power is only controlled manually. It doesn't have ETTL, like automatic exposure for the flash, but that isn't that much of a pain. A little bit of trial and error and you're good to go. It takes AA batteries, which is great, and if you put rechargeable ones in, you can even charge them inside the flash, which is ideal. It also has this really cool filter system where you lift up the front of the flash like that, and you can slide in different coloured gels that come with the flash when you buy it. You get like a red one, a green one, a blue one, and then you get some like warmer tones and some cooling tones. So really, it's pretty versatile. It also has a video light on it if you do video. I've not actually tested that, so I don't know how good it looks for video. It's kind of just like 2 phone torches, I guess. So I can't imagine it amazing, but if you're in a situation where you really need a light, it'll do. The only downside to this flash is the fact that sometimes it doesn't connect to the receiver very well, and you kind of spend a couple of minutes like fiddling around with it and making sure that it's connected. I don't understand why it doesn't have some sort of system that when you put it on top of the receiver, it just automatically syncs. I guess that would make too much sense. So yeah, other than that, really great flash. Next up, we have this rope strap that I bought off Amazon. It's really comfy, it doesn't irritate my shoulder or my neck if I'm carrying the camera all day, and I think it really suits the style of the camera. You do get one of them straps with the camera that's like leather on one side and it's kind of got Fujifilm stitched on the other side. I don't really think that they're very nice to kind of have on all day. The leather bit ends up kind of sticking here, and I find them really frustrating. This rope strap is just really comfy. The only downside to it really is that it's not adjustable, so I would definitely use the strap that came with the camera. Find out the perfect length of strap for you, because that one is adjustable, and then measure it, go online and find one that suits you. So let's talk a little bit about thumb grips. Now, there are plenty of thumb grips on the market for the X100, but for me, the only one worth mentioning is the LM X100v by Lensmate. A lot of the ones that are on the market kind of just go across over the top of the buttons and the scroll wheel on the back of the camera, and that isn't ideal because it means that you can't access the button and the scroll wheel is very hard to access. This Lensmate grip has a foldable hinge on it, so that when it's on the back of your camera, if you want to access those dials and the buttons, you can just fold it and it gets out of the way. One thing that I really don't like about this is the fact that the thumb grip actually protrudes quite far from the back of the camera. So if you've got your camera on a strap and you have this thumb grip on, the thumb grip ends up digging into your side and it's really uncomfortable. So I would not recommend this with a shoulder strap. However, if you have a wrist strap or like a little hand strap for your X100, I do think this would be a really cool accessory. If you're not using any strap at all, I would definitely recommend getting a little bag like this. This is just a Columbia kind of over shoulder bag. It fits the X100V in and it fits like some other little accessories, some batteries and stuff like that in. I would definitely recommend getting something like this just so you've always got it on you, and if ever you need to kind of take a photo really quickly, you can unzip it, take the camera out, take a photo and then put it back in. You don't have to go digging through like a backpack or anything like that to get it out, because you'll end up just missing loads of shots. And I do think the main selling point about this camera is that it's just always there and it's easily accessible. That's the beauty of it being so small. So I would definitely recommend getting one of these bags or something similar. Next up, we have this square hood. Now, I bought this because with the Pro Mist filter on, it's definitely prone to not necessarily flares, but if the sun hits the Pro Mist filter at a certain angle, it just bleaches out all of your shot. I feel like having a square hood or just a lens hood in general really helps with that. It doesn't have to be this square hood, it can be any hood really. It will prevent flares in your photos, it'll protect your camera if you hit it off something, and also I think it makes the camera look pretty cool. That's not necessarily an essential thing, but I do think that if your camera looks cool and you like the way your camera looks, you're more likely to take it out the house whenever you go out the house. So I do think even for just aesthetic quality, it's a really great investment. One thing about this Hauge or however you say the name, square hood, is that it includes a built-in filter adapter. So you screw the filter on the adapter and then you screw the square hood on the filter adapter with the filter in between, and then you put that on the front of your camera, and it's like a little 2-in-1 solution, which is really cool, really handy. Next up, we have a really boring one. It is a spare battery. This is the Fujifilm official battery, and I really didn't enjoy spending so much money on this, but at the end of the day, you don't want to be on a shoot and your battery run out and you end up missing shots. It's just something that you need to buy, really. It's unavoidable. I do think it's worth shelling out the extra money for the Fujifilm one rather than a third-party one. I've not actually tried any of the third-party ones for the Fujifilm cameras, but speaking from experience of third-party batteries with Sony cameras, they're just not as good, they die faster, you don't get an accurate reading on your kind of percentage battery rating, and after kind of a year, some of them are just completely dead, that just don't work. So I do think that it's worth spending the extra money and getting the Fujifilm one. And finally, we have the Fujifilm conversion lenses. Now you can get a wide conversion lens and a teleconversion lens. I only have the wide conversion lens just because I feel like the teleconversion lens is quite big. It does add a little bit of bulk to the camera, and if I was shooting portraits and I wanted like a 50mm focal length, I would just use my Sony cameras. But I feel like the wide angle one is really great for kind of documentary work, and the X100V is kind of a really great documentary camera. It's small, it's inobtrusive, so I do really rate this wide conversion lens. I have a video on this that I will put a link to at the end of this video that goes into a little bit more depth on my thoughts on this. But overall, very well built, great image quality, and especially if the X100 is your only camera, I would definitely recommend getting these. It makes the camera way more versatile, and you manage to just get so much more out of the camera. It can be a camera that shoots wide, it can be a camera that shoots like 35mm, and it can be a camera that's great for portraits or wedding work if you use a teleconversion one. If you have enjoyed this video, please drop a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel, and I will see you in the next one.